I'm curious what you think about the gerrymandering debate, because while I don't like how it works, I'm also not sure what a better option would be. I always tell people, I'm like, you find me this perfect computer algorithm that creates the most fair possible voting, like district lines that you think represent people the best possible way, and I guarantee you can't do it. And so it'll always be a subjective political decision, just how our founders intended it. I think they argued about this quite a bit, and eventually settled on this kind of imperfect but most perfect sort of solution. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't create polarization. I mean, obviously, very red districts and very blue districts, the incumbents running there have zero inclination to talk to, even if it's like 40% of their voter population. It's not insignificant, but it's insignificant in terms of winning an election.
Right.
But it's not insignificant in terms of people, just in what people think and what matters to them. And there's no incentive to cater to that at all. And I think that frustrates people. I'm not sure what the solution is there, but
I think, yeah, I'm going to say two things that are going to sound completely at odds with each other. But first of all, I did agree with you. Gerrymandering is a huge problem. I think it's very corrosive to our system. But I also don't think it's imperfect in this regard,
mm-hmm.
in that the founders, when they set it up, the one thing that they did make sure, and this is why state legislatures get to do these maps, is that it means that the people who are doing it are accountable to the voters. And by the way, if you don't like what they're doing, throw the bums out and demand a different system. Now, my problem is I think a lot of people aren't top mind focused on gerrymandering when they go and cast their vote.
Mm-hmm.
But if it becomes an egregious enough problem, that could change. The solution that, again, a lot of people have put forward is to do some sort of imposed structural change to this problem. And often what it's ended up in several states is to have these supposedly independent commissions that are going to, in a very enlightened fashion, come up with a better map than your elected representative. The problem is, again, totally unaccountable. If you don't like that map, how do you get rid of those people?
Right.
How do you hold them to account?
Yeah.
And again, right now, at the moment, gerrymandering is something you and I are talking about. Maybe it's not motivating every voter, but if it becomes a big enough issue, there is a remedy for it existing right now in the system that we have.
Yeah. You vote them out.
Vote them out. Vote them out, and elect someone who actually says, one of my primary things I'm going to do when I get elected to your state legislature is make sure that we have less complicated, stupid looking electoral maps.
My district was strange looking, to say the least. It had nothing to do with me, even though I got tweeted at it for. I was tweeted at a lot for it. It doesn't matter. It now looks more normal in my new district, more like a pond instead of a river running through Houston. But in the end, it's like, but I always said, I'm like, okay, like, what don't you like? I ask people, because I like to have these sort of thought experiments. Like, let's make this an academic discussion. Tell me what it is you don't like about it. Well, it's corrupt. Why is it corrupt? I mean, look at the shape. So the shape is the primary indicator of corruption. Yeah. Why? I don't know. You know what I mean? So in this, it doesn't start to make sense, because I'm like, well, I mean, maybe that's the case. It strings together all these different neighborhoods. So let's look at the ethnic breakdown. The ethnic breakdown, turns out, in my old district was like pretty well balanced. I mean, it looked exactly like Texas. I think it was almost perfectly proportioned. It was like 35% white, 30% Hispanic, 12% black. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was very well balanced. Socioeconomically, you could argue it was also pretty well balanced. It was a close district. It was not obvious that Republicans were going to keep winning that. It's one of the reasons. Maybe there was a lot of retirements then. I won by less than 5 points my first election. People got to know me a little bit better. I did a little bit better in 2020, but still, it was a very purple district. And so, I think these political science conversations are interesting, because I think people just get really emotional about some of this stuff and they don't know why. And I'm like, what is it that's really getting at you? Is it just the shape? Because now I have a district that's completely uncompetitive. There's zero chance that a Democrat has any shot,
Right.
but it looks better. So is that less corrupt, or is it more corrupt, or is corrupt even the right word? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too Socratic with my
No, no, no. I mean, but I
conversation here.
think it's no, it's really interesting. Like when I've talked to people, same thing, and I think that one of the things that in the average American's minds, and I really connect with this, is that when they see a shape, any kind of funny shape, the assumption, and I get it, is that it was done for some sort of partisan political gain, to sort of, or in chasing some kind of outcome, like you said, where you want a perfectly proportioned district. And I think in most Americans' minds, their argument is, why do we not just have a series of blocks across the state?
Mm-hmm.
And you fall where you will, and then let's see where it goes. And I think a lot of Americans don't understand why the sort of obsessive efforts that go into these maps every year.
Mm-hmm.
Just divide the state up in a whole bunch of sort of straight old blocks, and let's
Yeah.
go for
They don't realize it's population based either. So like every district has to have the exact same population. I think it's like 760,000. And so
it. Right.
that creates complications.
Yes.
That's why we do a census. I mean, there is a lot that goes into it. And, is it fair or not fair? I'm not even sure that's the right question, but because it sort of just is.
Yeah.
And nobody has a better solution. Like you said, oh yeah, you could have some a council of wise men, but who are they accountable to?